Hello, everyone. Tonight we have a special guest with us. She's actually a longtime friend of mine for over 30 years.
Yeah, long
This is
time.
the first time that we have seen each other in over 30 years, actually, maybe even 40. But her name is Sue Walker. She is a retired professional clairvoyant and medical intuitive whose career spanned 35 plus years. Now, as a pastel portrait art takes up much of her time, she and her spouse are co authors of the book Inviting ET, and both are also lifelong UFO and ET experiencer. Since June of 2015, together they have assisted in telepathic translation for their online social media accounts. So please welcome Sue Walker. Hello.
Whoa, good to see you after so long. I
No.
recognize your face, and I don't. I remember you guys by your magical names, and
Mhm.
went wow, wow. And I'm not even sure where. Let's see. Are you still in Iowa?
We are still, yeah, we moved to Colorado for about 8 years. Then
Okay.
we moved back, missed family and grandkids and everything.
Hmm.
And then I semi-retired and we decided to start a podcast
Nice.
instead of doing the community events because after 27 years, we was
Got to be old.
tired. We was tired. We did
Yes,
our
I
dues.
understand completely. When you lead the charge for all the different holidays,
Oh, yeah.
and oh yes,
Oh,
I
yeah.
get you. I do. I like being well semi-retired. I really am shifting away from the clairvoyant and medical intuitive work
Hmm.
to the artwork and gardening and taking care of my spouse and those things instead. And I am loving New Mexico. I've been here a little bit more than 11 years now. I moved down in 14 and have just enjoyed being here. I never had visited New Mexico until I started dating a gentleman who was from here. And then I wanted to come down and see how he lived. And I did that in 13. And when we started dating and moved down here in 14 and got married in 16. So,
Oh,
yep,
and look what
yep.
you are now.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's worked out very well, and I'm very happy down here. Yeah.
Yeah, New Mexico, New Mexico. I've been there. I love it. It's hot, but
Yep.
I still love it. Um, Now you and your spouse wrote a book, Inviting ET,
We did.
2018.
Mhm.
Um, I was late on getting the book because I was so excited when I heard that you had the book
Mhm.
or that you wrote the book. I had to have it. I was like, yeah, we got to get this book. Amazon's is kind of slow, so
Yes. It can be.
but in 2018, when you first started this book, um, did you think about doing it beforehand? It was just something that's like, hey,
No, what happened, there's a sequence to all of this, and it's a strange story. It's an unusual, unprecedented story, but it's a true story if you want to hear it. The book was inspired after we had been contacted
oh,
on purpose by an extraterrestrial
mm,
who spoke to my spouse and I telepathically. And that all started in September of 2013. The very first time I ever came down to New Mexico, I'd been here about 10 days. And we were in the living room watching America's Got Talent finals one night. And like a lot of people, we had our favorite performer. And we
mhm.
were glad when he did his bit on stage. And I turned to Otter and I said, wow, he was really good. I hope he wins tonight. And then a strange male voice who was not in the room with us and, and also commented right after I did. And the voice said, he really was good. I hope he does win.
Oh,
The male voice was coming from beneath the Sandia Mountain on the eastern edge of Albuquerque, which was about 10 miles from us. A long ways away. And when I heard it, I knew the distance and direction sense that came with it. And my head whipped around and I stared out our picture window at that spot on the mountain and I went, what is this? Because I knew after doing 30 plus years of clairvoyant work that it was not a ghost.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't have that flavor. It wasn't a disembodied person like a someone that didn't have a physical body. He clearly did. And yet the telepathy was so clear. I just and that was all he said is, I hope he does win. And then he went silent. And I went, well, that was a strange anomaly. The next day I heard the same guy again. The day after that, I heard him a third time. And finally, I figured I better ask my boyfriend then, and now my spouse. And I was a little scared to ask him about this strange disembodied voice I was hearing in his living room. And so I finally got brave and I said, Otter, I have a question for you. Have you ever heard a voice coming from the mountain? I keep hearing this guy. And he went, oh, them. Oh, they talk all the time. They talk so much I have to tune them out. Why?
Oh, wow.
So he'd heard them ever since he'd moved into this house in 2009. So I knew that this fellow was a little different. When I went back to Iowa, I didn't hear him. When I came back down to visit 2 months later, he started talking again. And I finally got brave and I asked the voice from the mountain what his real name was. I'd given it a nickname. It came from the Sandia Mountain. I figured that sounded like a name as well as any other word. And I forgot that in Spanish, Sandia means watermelon. And when I turned to Otter and I said, I think I'm going to give this voice a nickname, calling it the voice from the mountain. Sounds kind of dumb. Comes from the Sandia Mountain. I think I'll just call it Sandia. Well, the voice was listening. And he piped up immediately and he went, Sandia, eh? Watermelon head. Yeah, that'll work. I thought, who is this? In 2 months after we'd started talking to him, I finally said, Sandy, I have a question for you. What's your real name and where's home? And he answered, and he answered in detail. He said, my real name is Tilcum. And I went, what?
What was that?
Tilcum. And I went,
Oh.
slower. He said, Tilcum, like louder was going to help. I said, Tilcum? He said, Tilcum. And then he spelled it Tlkm, and he followed it with, our language seldom uses vowels unless they are borrowed.
Oh.
And I said, okay, where's home? Home is the fifth planet orbiting the further of the two stars of the binary system you call Zeta Reticuli in the constellation of Reticulum, which is a southern hemisphere constellation, difficult for you to see from here. And I went, oh, okay. That was verbatim quote. I had to write it down so I remembered it. And so he requested that they do not call them grays. He said, please don't call me a gray. I don't call you a pink or a brown.
Mm-hmm.
He said the phrase alien is also a little offensive. And he did say that you could call them by where they're from or by what they look like, respectfully. And they said, we have a Zeta body type in your language, and that is okay to say. But Star Nation visitors, Star Brothers, extraterrestrials, all those terms are fine.
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Do people have a name?" He said, we are the Punti, and you may call our world Punta. And he really pronounced it. And I went, okay, all right. So we asked them why they were here. And after talking with Sandia for like a year and a half, by 2015, we knew that he wasn't by himself. But we didn't ask him about the other people. We waited for him to bring things up. It's like we never grilled him for technology either. because we didn't want him to have the opinion that technology in what they had technologically was more important than making friends. We knew we had a golden opportunity to understand and learn about their culture and why they were here. And so those are the things that we started to get from Sandia. After a year and a half, he introduced us to another guy and another gal. And then he said, "We understand your world has something called social media." And I went, "Uh-oh." He said, "Would it be permitted for us to have an account we wish to keep?" And I went, "Ah," because I kind of had no idea of what that meant. And I said, "As far as I know, it's not illegal.
Mhm.
I think you can do that." So we helped them open up a Facebook page and a Twitter account. And the Facebook wasn't reaching as far as he wanted, but the Twitter was reaching worldwide. And a year after they opened up the Twitter account and started sharing worldwide about themselves,
Mhm.
one came back to us again. This is in 2016 and said, "We are assigning you a telepathy teacher." And I went, "What?" And he said, "That teacher will also transcribe or translate a book for you to transcribe on telepathy improvement." And so we got introduced to our telepathy teacher. Her name was Tini, and she was the oldest female gal at the underneath the mountain. And so she dictated the Telepathy 101 primer, which is a beginning hands-on 285-page slide presentation that you can go through in an hour or two.
And
But
that's an ebook you have, is that correct?
that's the book that takes you from where you are right now telepathically
Mhm.
to improving to the point where you can speak with a telepathic nation. Because when these guys talk to you in your brain, it's a lot. It's not just like hearing words like on the radio. It
Mhm.
is very much emotions, images, sounds, uh, direction sense, historic sense, all kinds, like a big chunk of information downloaded into your brain all at once. And after about 10 minutes, if you're not used to that kind of communication, your brain gets tired. It
Yeah.
gets overwhelmed. So we slowly began to, in talking with Tilcom, build up our stamina. And then um, the second half of the Telepathy 101 primer is protocols. What are the protocols to contact them? And how do you invite them to come to your house? Well, we published that in 2017, and within 3 months, it was translated into 12 languages plus,
Oh,
and
wow.
it went viral. And so it went everywhere. People downloaded it all over the planet in their own language and began inviting these same ETs from under the Sandia Mountain to come visit them, and they got visits. It
Oh,
was
wow.
unprecedented. They actually invited these guys by name. They
Mm.
knew the names of the individuals that they were asking to come
Mhm.
visit them at their homes. And then the people that got visits started to send us back photographs of their visit, um, of the evidence of their visits.
Oh.
So whether it was crop circles or landing sites in the backyard, or um, magnets moved on the refrigerators to spell out things, or ships flying overhead and blinking their ship lights when asked to on camera. All of those things are now on their website, along with other information. And the Ponte's website is officialfirstcontact.com. So we coalesced the information of them. And let's see, do I have a picture so that you see what they look like? Yeah. So these guys,
Oh.
they have the large head, the large eyes with dark lenses that can retract. It's a nictitating eyelid, and underneath those dark eyelids, their eyes are the same kind of color as ours are, plus a purplish lavender tone and a gold tone. And then this happens to be called "This Way to the Kitchen." But this creating a circle and walking through it from the outside into your house.
Mm-hmm.
We have other individuals here in Albuquerque who can vouch for that, because we found a gal who had been talking with the Ponte and getting visits from them since the 70s. And she actually was written about in a book by the UFO researcher. Oh, and now I'm going to blank on his name. Her name is Gloria Hawker, and she actually described one day she had a problem with her back and she couldn't get out of bed. And after her caretaker left the house, the wall at the base of her bed dissolved into an 8-foot circle, kind of like the picture. And 6 individuals walked through the circle and surrounded her bed and started to work on her.
Wow.
And so, yes, all of these things. Bud Hopkins, that's the UFO author and researcher who wrote about Gloria Hawker. We also found a Native American elder by the name of Clifford Mahooty, who's been on Ancient Aliens. And Clifford told us that 2 Star Nation people, each from a different nation,
Mm-hmm.
from beneath the Sandia Mountain to visit them in Zuni and return on a regular basis. And I was happy for that corroboration. We also talked to an electrician who um, answered a job ad in the for a classified electrical contractor position, and he went through all the 24-page paperwork to have the clearance. And when he was instructed to go out into the desert and meet somebody at a certain intersection. Okay. And he pulled up, and here's this van. And the guys that were driving the van said, "Leave everything in your truck. You don't need your tools. You cannot bring even your keys, your phone, your lighter, your smokes, nothing. Just get in the truck." They drove him around for more than an hour. And finally, the passengers heard the sound of the wheels were different, like they'd gone from outside to inside.
Mm-hmm.
The van door opens, and he stepped out into the biggest airstrip he had ever seen in his life, and it was all underground. And
Wow.
in the far, far edge of it, he saw some saucers and a short individual, like the individual I showed you, and a taller person that looked like he was human, but he couldn't tell for sure.
Oh, wow.
So we got corroboration from those people, both from Clifford and from the electrician,
Mhm.
about the beneath the mountain stuff. And the Tilcom told us that the facility has been in existence for 15,000 years,
Wow.
since the last ice age ended, and the flood event happened uh, 12,600 or 12,900 years ago, something like that. And so the Ponte have
Mhm.
been in this area, and the local Native American folks all knew about it. Star Brothers are here, they're under this mountain. Okay. So
Now,
that's how that started. The Inviting ET book, to get around to the original topic,
mhm.
was answering questions that the Telepathy 101 primer brought up and didn't answer for folks. And so it's a manual on how do you have your own CE5 event, close
Mhm.
encounter of the fifth kind,
Yeah.
uh, whether it's just you sitting in a lawn chair in your garage and inviting them, or if you're 150 people on a mountaintop in a national park. It's the same questions and it's the same protocols to help people through it. That's what inviting ET is all about. So that's the roundabout story of all the extraterrestrial stuff that we've been dealing with for more than a dozen years now.
Now, have you been to the research center, the Tufan MUFON, that's in Arizona?
No, I have not yet.
Yeah. Okay. I was just wondering because I was talking to Karen Lee, the director of
Uh-huh.
it, and she said that she has heard of you and was very
Oh,
interested in meeting you someday. So I
that'd be
didn't,
great. Yeah.
I didn't think you was there, but I just want to pass that along because Karen said
Thank
that
you.
she does like to meet you someday
That'd be
because
great.
she's heard your name. So your name is in Arizona
Yeah,
on people's
probably.
mouths. So just
Infamous before I'm famous.
yes, that's correct. Now you mentioned about the star stations. Now I've heard about the stations and everything, or star nations. I'm sorry, is it Star
Carnations.
Nation? Yeah, Star
Yeah,
Nation. Now I know
there's
there's
a
like
lot.
75% that's like in the ocean,
That's
which
right.
it makes sense because ocean, the body of
Yeah,
water
we're a water world. You
covers a
bet.
lot. Yeah. So for those in the audience who doesn't know what a star nation is, can you explain that to them?
Okay. So visiting visiting us
Mhm.
on land or in the ocean are individuals that come from other dimensions, multidimensional people, or other worlds. That would be extraterrestrial people, off planet people.
Mhm.
Okay. And we have a measure of both here that either come visit from another dimension into ours. And those folks, you know them because they can vanish in a single step. You can be walking in the forest with them and they can take one more step and they're gone. Or they can materialize things. Like if I wanted to take a marble and carry it over and plop it into the soft drink that you were drinking, a multi-dimensional person can do that. They can walk up to a snowy spot in their dimension, lift up one foot, put it down in the snow in our dimension, lift it back up and into their dimension and walk off, and there's a single footprint in the middle of nowhere.
Wow.
And they do it when they know that researchers are on their tail so that they can hide in the tree line and watch these humans trying to figure out how their single footprint is in the middle of nowhere, and they're laughing their heads off. And so the Sasquatch have a huge sense of humor, but they're just one of a number of multi-dimensional folks that you can experience in our national forests
Mhm.
and around in the a lot of the quiet places. They they don't like our conglomerated cities and towns.
Mhm.
They like to be off by themselves where there's food, water, shelter, all of those things. So we didn't know anything about Sasquatch until we met the Pontee, and then found out from them that the Sasquatch and the extraterrestrials from Zeta Reticuli too, those two nations were great friends with one another. They had a
Wow.
similar sense of humor. So they pulled pranks on each other all the time. You wouldn't, it's
That's
just
kind of fun.
amazing.
Yeah.
There are some extraterrestrials in the ocean that you would recognize. You know, octopus,
Mhm.
9 brains, blue blood,
Yeah.
and extremely intelligent. There are also in the deep oceans where the light doesn't get down there and it's really black, um, amorphous, blob like individuals who speak to each other in a language that creates patterns of light on the exterior of this amorphous moving blob form. We've caught those individuals, and I'm sorry I don't know their real name, on camera, just only a couple of times in deep
Mhm.
ocean stuff. And everybody goes, "Oh my God, it's huge!" And what is that? So you can capture all kinds of things in our oceans, but you are right. 75% of the star nations, plural, that come visit Earth, and on any given time, the Ponte told us that 75 to 80 separate star nations are visiting our world. That's a lot.
That is a lot. That is
Individuals, just a
really,
whole nation
yeah.
visiting as a ship or contingent or a group of researchers.
Hmm.
Ponte told us that they considered themselves gardeners of intellect and did admit to us that various star nations over the past,
Hmm.
I suppose, 10 million years have altered our DNA at least 13 times. I mean, it's not just once, it's markers that you can identify as what look like glitches in our DNA because it just doesn't follow the sequence and it's just there. And so it's like a DNA signature of I changed this here. So,
That reminds me because I have talked to several ufologists,
mhm,
and I always ask the question because I have two kids that are RH negative.
mhm.
And I heard for a long time that the ETs likes the RH negatives because it's like one of them. Now, I don't know
Um,
if that's true or not. What do you think about that?
there is some indication that changing from RH positive to RH negative had some outside influence. And
Mhm.
so that's the theory, is that it's one of those DNA tweaks kind of thing. Um, and the star nations really helped us and our brain chemistry advance to this stage, and they're continuing to help us advance our brains so that so that we can reach our fullest potential. Our brains are capable of much more than what we are using them for. We just haven't been taught. And
Hmm.
so the I think you are right. I do know that they keep track for generations of certain family lines with skill sets.
Oh.
And when I asked, what are they tracking? They said, we're tracking not only intelligence, but ability to understand telepathy, creative um, venture side, and um, ability to overcome fears so that fear doesn't take hold of you and make you into a raving lunatic, that you can put things into perspective and stay calm.
Hmm.
So that's kind of the things that they're tracking. They do start very young, and
Mhm.
age 3 to 4 is frequently the first visits that children have. We talked to a child who was getting visited by the Ponte who lived in Colorado. And in fact, the whole family came down to visit us because the parents were concerned that their youngest, who is under the age of kindergarten, was talking about these extraterrestrials and they were talking back to him. And they wrote this little 5-year old wrote my name on a piece of paper
Oh.
along with Zumi instead of Zuni,
Mhm.
and um, drew a picture of the mountain and drew a picture of a light in the sky over the mountain that wasn't the sun or the moon.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Very.
We had to calm the parents down because they were obviously very concerned to come
Mhm.
hundreds of miles to visit us. But when we laid out what we knew about this particular star nation, the Ponte,
Mhm.
they were greatly relieved and
Mhm.
less afraid. So
But thank you, they had help from you then. So now you're also an artist. I don't want to bypass that. Now I know you had some artwork that you was going to show us. Uh,
Oh, I have all kinds of things sitting here.
can you do
Um,
that?
I can show you some things. When when I first started drawing the Ponti, it was at their request.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with the Sasquatch; it was at their request. And so the story goes with the Ponti. They were under a treaty where they couldn't provide photos or videos. But Tilcom came to me and he said, with this treaty, there is absolutely nothing prohibiting a contactee from drawing their experience and what they saw.
Mm-hmm.
Will you please start drawing us? And I hadn't drawn anybody in 40 years when they requested this. But I started and I got slowly better. And I began to illustrate them at their request on parts of their everyday lives so that people would see what they're like
Mm-hmm.
and be less afraid. So let me give you for instance, this was a gal who found a dress that was her size. And she just wondered what it would look like on her.
Oh.
And so she was holding it up to the mirror and thinking about all of that. Um, their security chief was in Florida about 10 years ago. And as they were wrapping up their mission for that day or that evening, a little itty bitty kitty came up to him and patted him on the foot. And he looked down at this itty bitty kitty and he said, "Who are you?" And the kitty looked up at him and telepathically said, "I'm lost."
Oh.
So that became the kitty's name. And he adopted the kitty, took it back to the station. It's the only animal that roves around over there. And now everybody knows Lost Kitty.
Oh.
Lost Kitty isn't little anymore. Lost Kitty is a big cat, big tabby. Um, they have to go undergo training before they can visit us, and those trainees have um, quite a few tasks that they have to do, and there is a test that they have to go undergo when they visit houses of ours
Mm-hmm.
where there are cats and dogs present. Okay, they have to know how to understand if a canine, if a dog is aggressive or not, and how to make friends with it because they're new to this planet and they have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that they have to overcome their fear of is this. And to have a dog with teeth that you have to decide if it's aggressive, lick you on the face and be that close. That's part and parcel of their training. They do get to the point where they understand how to deal
Oh.
with their dogs, but they also interact with our nature. As a telepathic nation, you can talk to a bunny and see what's going on. We asked them about their diet. They said that they are pescatarian. They eat some fish, not anything that's dolphin or whale related. Um, but they also eat lots of fruits and vegetables. And we talked to them about morel mushrooms and described to them how to go find morels.
Looks like he enjoys it.
Yeah. Um, they had lots of questions for us after visiting Iowa. They asked about structures that look like this
Oh.
and wanted to know about why there was a moon on the door of this tiny little building. We talked to them about planting and crops, and um, Clifford Mahooty told us that they used to trade with the Star Nations and offer them gifts and get gifts back. And I said, "What did you trade?" Seeds. They traded seeds. That made so much sense to me. And then it got me thinking, does that include our seeds, like sperm and egg?
Mm-hmm.
Likely. It likely does. Um, when I, in 2016, Tilcom, out of the blue, came to us in the spring and he said, I want you to go and teach the Telepathy 101 primer, which we had just finished, somewhere. And I said, okay, where do you want us to go? And he said, well, look up this person. And he spelled out Kiwani lapsaritis. Kiwani is a Sasquatch researcher. And the day before Tilcom talked to us, they put up their first website for the first Psychic and Spiritual Sasquatch Conference in Chewela, Washington. And we taught telepathy because the Sasquatch are telepathic.
Mm-hmm.
And when we got back home, the local Sasquatch from a super volcano down here in New Mexico that's dormant called the Valles Caldera. They have a good Sasquatch population. They came and said, can you draw us as we see each other instead of as monsters? And I said, sure, you can send anybody you want. You can send your kids.
Oh.
Okay. You can send your elders. You can send just whatever poses that you want. And so we got to know the various types of Sasquatch through the Ponte. We did find out that Sasquatch do enjoy pizza. If you're camping and you make bacon or ham outside, they smell it. And boy, if you left any for them, they would think that was great. We learned that the Sasquatch are huge herbalists. They know all of the medicinal properties of everything that grows around them. And we happened to be at Estes Park in Colorado at
Mm-hmm.
a
And there.
conference. And after we had listened to a presenter, it was getting on about supper time, and we had a room on the second floor, and there was a balcony that overlooked the forest. And I went to get a breath of fresh air and left the door open to a room where my spouse was, and was looking out at the mountain and going, gosh, food, shelter, water. This is perfect Sasquatch territory. And Kiwani lapsaritis happened to be at the same conference and had just finished telling an audience that Sasquatch was telepathic. Well, we already knew that.
Yeah.
Our Ponte friends told us. And so I thought about that. And just because I was standing on the railing on the balcony and I just projected this telepathic thought out to the forest to any Sasquatch that might be there. And I said, my name is Sue. And one of the researchers here just finished telling a whole group of people that you're telepathic. And if you hear any loud or inappropriate voices or attempts to contact you, I'm going to apologize for them in advance. They're trying. And that was all I said. And I didn't expect any kind of a response. I wasn't looking for that. At that moment, Otter, who's in our hotel room, yells out the door at me, Sue, have you eaten your seaweed yet? And I went, and I was just about to answer. And this high female voice gets projected into my head from the forest. What's seaweed? And I recognized that it was kind of a response to my apology.
Mm-hmm.
And I turned right back to the forest and I said out loud, and I projected telepathically, seaweed is a plant that grows in the ocean, and I eat it as a medicine to keep me healthy. And then I turned it right around and I said, do you have any plants you use as a medicine?
Mm-hmm.
And She paused for a minute, and then there was this high pitched giggle. And she like that. Said, oh, yes, chokeweed. And I went, chokeweed, chokeweed. And the only thing I could think of that I would call chokeweed was like a bindweed that you would see in uh, pastures, and it gave horses and cows colic. And I thought, that's not something that's edible to us. I wonder what she's talking about. And I said to her telepathically, can you show me what you call chokeweed? I might call it something else. And a minute later, in my head, was this image of a fully mature, full in flower, 8 foot tall, ready to harvest pot plant. Chokeweed, she said.
Oh,
We pull it up by the roots and throw it on our fires. Our children calm down, and we digest food better, and then we laugh and sing, but it makes us choke. And
oh
so I started busting a gut. And Otter, who's in the room, calls out and said, who are you talking to?
wow.
And I'm still laughing. And I turned and I said, Otter, has pot ever been called chokeweed before? He said, not that I know of. Why? So
Oh
I
wow.
had to explain. But after that, we made up several images of the Sasquatch with pot chokeweed leaves. This is one of them. This is called Rasta Squatch.
I like that.
Yeah. So he's my big chokeweed Sasquatch. But Kuwani lapsaritis also told us that in Oklahoma, a woman with a Sasquatch on her property, um, he had been visiting her and they had been gifting things with the Sasquatch. And one morning she had a migraine. So Kawani goes out to the gifting tree by himself and he tells the Sasquatch that she's not feeling well and he leaves the gift. A couple hours he comes back to see if they've interacted with whatever he left. And they took the gift and they left this long colo of pot about 8-10 inches long. And they gave him instructions to give to her to make this colo into a tea and drink it. It will take care of her headache. And so that was our second corroboration that the Sasquatch understand the medicinal use of pot.
Mhm.
So that's the chokeweed story.
Wow. We have a comment here.
Oh no.
Let me, oh, it's okay. From Rich Master. Let me see. Hang on. There we go. Uh, UFOs and Bigfoot. Isn't it funny how sick?
Zachariah Sitchin put them both in his Anunnaki books. Yep, yep, because they go together. If you that was the one thing that we enjoyed at the Psychic and Spiritual Sasquatch Conference. People
Mhm.
came from all over the planet. The premier researcher from Russia came. People who studied the Yowie in Australia came. We had people coming over from Europe, Denmark, and England, and France, all coming and talking about their Sasquatch research that included what they referred to gently as the others, meaning you're out Sasquatching and somebody else that you did not expect shows up and you're not sure what's going on. And so it was everything from ships that they saw that were flying by or going into an opening in the mountain or were hovering right there where they were doing their Sasquatch research. But there also are other multidimensional folks that pal around with the same Sasquatch. You probably have heard of the dogman,
Oh yes. Oh
right?
yes. Mhm.
Right. So that would be another multidimensional that lives beside them. But there are also things like the half and halves, where from the waist on down, fully Sasquatch. From the waist on up, white. No, no, hair, bald,
Wow.
half and halves.
I don't think
So
I
it's
heard of
like
half
those
and half.
individuals, yeah. Mark Abel has a YouTube channel called Colorado Bigfoot, and he has documented more Sasquatch structures than anybody else on the planet because he spent more time videotaping above 9,000 feet than anybody else doing their research. And so the Sasquatch know him and have spread the word that he's an okay guy. And in fact, if he parks his vehicle or his motorcycle and goes up and does his walkabout in their area and comes back, they've decorated around his vehicle or his bike, his motorcycle. And so he knows that they at least are friendly with him. And he's the one, he and I have had a number of discussions about the others.
Wow. I do
Yeah.
a lot of cryptid shows too. I never heard of the half and half.
I
I've
hadn't either.
done a dozen other cryptids show. So that is really interesting. When I do my next one on cryptids, I'm going to ask about that
Yeah.
uh, and see what they say. Yeah.
You'll
Um,
see the little guys that look like Sasquatch, only they're short. They're the woodman.
mm-hmm.
You'll see guys that look almost like a gnome. You'll see some small people that are dressed and have a reputation for making tiny, tiny little arrowheads and knapping flint. So there's a lot of things out there other than half and halves and dogmen. I mean, there's a lot.
Oh yeah.
So
I
multidimensionally crazy.
believe it. Yeah. Especially when we lived in Colorado about the sand dunes. We have seen a few things. So we didn't know we were ever will see anything like that. But yeah,
Hmm.
that's another story. So yeah. Now, with the earlier this year, they had drones over the East Coast and everything.
Yeah.
Do you think that was any part of well, of course, I'm pretty sure it was. I'm not gonna say it wasn't because 'cause I'm pretty sure 100% it was. Do you think we were ever come a or there will ever be a time for us to actually meet them face to
Oh,
face,
yeah.
the ETs?
Oh, you are seeing them escalate their visibility now.
Okay.
Okay. The and Oumuamua, the
Mhm.
um, spaceship or the ship that we call Oumuamua that has returned to our solar system again and is not alone this time, and also um, AI. Is it AI 360? The designation of the asteroid
Mhm.
that um, is a structure that has light emitting from it, like
Mhm.
windows. So we have those things that they're tracking in our solar system. The Ponti tell us that out past Neptune, you see a bunch of stuff, and the Voyager craft did and has. But also here on Earth, you are seeing a lot more visibility of craft and interactions with humans on the ground or ships in the ocean. And I said, are the are the militaries here a problem when you're in your craft? And they all laughed. And their ships are so much faster and more skilled piloting wise that they can literally fly circles around any jet that we've got and outrun any missile system. And if they really need to, they ditch in the water, they ditch in the ocean. And
Yeah.
because you can go, 500 miles an hour and then suddenly go into the ocean, and there's no way for us to track them that way. No way at all. We do have underwater drones, but we don't have drones that go from air to ocean at the
Ocean.
speed that they do at all.
Huh.
And
Do you
so,
think that the human race is ready for this? Is
oh
ready to
yeah, I
deities?
do, because as you have seen this slow opening up of disclosure, they have presented various kinds of ships,
Hmm.
and the public has gone, meh, yeah, okay, UFO.
Yeah.
They did the ET at the mall story, wherever that was in the United States. Did the people panic? Do you see any panic? No,
Um,
we just kind of blipped it. And there has been enough science fiction popular shows out there, from Star Trek to Star Wars and on,
hmm.
that people are going, well, we know there's ships, there's got to be pilots. So unless they're going to attack us, and you know what? If they were, they would have done it by now.
That's what I think. I think if they were here to harm, that they would have done so a long time ago. I
Yes.
think they just want to kind of scope us out and see when the time is right to actually mingle with us, I guess you can say. I mean,
Hmm.
I have seen ships. Um, we've been followed by some, we have seen some.
Yep.
I'm a true believer and everything. I'm just more or less hoping before I'll be 60 this year. So hopefully in the next 30, 40 years, I can actually meet one.
If you read the Inviting ET book, or and the Telepathy 101 primer, and follow the protocols and practice for 100 days, your own telepathic skills will improve. And it benefits you in your life whether you meet anybody or not. But then after 100 days, if you attempt to contact the mountain, even from Iowa, and I would focus on a single person that
Yeah.
you would like to contact, and invite them to come visit you, and tell them where and when you're going to be so they know. And then get your cameras that are ready, and sit and wait. Sometimes they look at you and evaluate, are you ready for an in-person visit in your home? Or do you just need a flyby with a blink blink that tells you that they've heard you? I mean, everybody's a little different. Some people swear up and down they're ready for an in-person visit, and when it happens, they freak out.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I can understand that. Yes. We do have another comment. Have you ever watched the 2024 movie Sasquatch Sunset yet?
I have seen parts of it, and it does depict their everyday family life fairly well.
Oh, cool. I
I don't
definitely
know how much it touches on the interdimensional skill set that they have, or the multidimensional skill set.
wow.
But as far as family, Sasquatch are matriarchal clans.
Mhm.
The eldest female in the tribe has the final say on things, but she can instruct the eldest male and all of the other adult males to do things. So if there's a problem with another clan, they discuss it and figure out what to do. If there's a problem with a human being, they discuss it and figure out what to do. But the eldest females have the final say, which I think was great. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Um, Now I know you was saying that don't call them grays and everything.
Yeah.
Okay, so you on TV and books and stuff, you see them as being tall, small, kind of like medium, kind of like a bluish color, gray, or kind of like a light green or something. How many species are
Oh, there are more than a dozen different Zeta body type nations that look similar but not identical. In fact, I actually put together a short video of all of the photos of various Zeta body type peoples that I found, and some of them have little cartilage in their noses, like a little button nose, like the Ponty have. Some of
Mhm.
them have no cartilage in their nose and just two holes. Some of them have very round heads. Some of them have very long, angular heads. One nation has a triangle head and
Mhm.
flares. Um, the Zeta body type can be 3 or 4 fingers. We've seen both. But all of these different nations that look similar are all from different places. They are not from one world. They are from dozens of worlds. And some of them have crossbred with each other, which makes it even more confusing. But some of them have been around and exploring a lot longer than we have. And so they do what all cultures do when two cultures get together and figure out that maybe they can make babies together. They crossbreed. And that's crossbreeding is a well accepted way of a new culture getting two cultures to understand each other,
Mhm.
that teaching about them. So we do see that confusion a lot. And I just want people to know that they are from many different places and many different cultures, and don't judge one individual as um, this is the way all of them are, because it's not. Some of them are extremely emotional and funny. Others are more intelligent and standoffish. Some are tall, 8 feet tall. I've seen the tall, white, slender body types.
Mhm.
I've seen the very short, less than 4 foot types also. The thing that they have in common is the dark, nictitating eyelids that keep their eyes safe from wind, sand, bright light,
Mhm.
UV, etc., etc. And they retract them only when they're in an environment that they don't need the protection of that lens. And so our sun is a little harsh for some of their eyes. So you see them mostly when you interact with them with the dark lenses intact. Let's see, do I have a picture of them with dark lenses intact? Maybe. Oh, let me look. I do. I have a film spoof. So, one of the first males that we met, his nickname is Radar. He's a pilot. His real name is Rahaz. And when he introduced himself, he says, Rahaz rhymes with Oz, as in the Wizard of. And I went, okay. So I drew him as Rahaz,
Oh.
the Wizard of Rahaz. And but you see the dark eyes.
Yep. Mhm.
I don't know if I have one that's a close up of them without the dark eyes. Here's one. This is a single eye, but you can see that irises and color
Mhm.
are very similar. We have the same vestigial second eyelid, we in the very corners of our eyes, but ours have shrunk because we didn't need them, and so we never had enough use for them. If we were a more aquatic species, we likely would have not lost them.
Mhm.
So,
Now, how about abduction? Because a lot of people always says they think they got abducted,
mhm,
and some says that it's like no time lapse at all. It was
mhm,
like just like a minute and that was it.
mhm.
And some said they did have like a couple hours of time lapse.
Mhm.
So if it comes to abduction, what do you think they're trying to do? Just kind of like
Well, all right.
look
So
at us or
it's kind of like they follow certain individuals through their whole lives. Okay,
Mhm.
so you will see some people who get abducted, quote unquote, or visited and taken aboard the ship over and over. They do what they call wellness checks. It's kind of like if we're following, let's make up something. Let's say we're following a specific rare kind of deer in the forest and we put a tag in its ear. But every once in a while, if it looks like it's not feeling well, we go put a tranquilizer dart in it, pick it up, and do a wellness check on it, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Very standard. We don't hurt it. We return it as gently as we can to its environment. That's what they do. You notice that these individuals are not hurt. They're taken, checked up, inspected, and then returned to whatever environment they were taken from. Sometimes the telepathic nation will put you into a light sleep like state, like a hypnotic state, so that you can walk and follow instructions, but not be freaked out. They do that so that nobody has all this fear and nobody gets hurt. Okay, so those wellness checks can take place in your home where are you have missing time, but you may not feel like you went anywhere. They can take place aboard a hospital ship where you see all kinds of equipment and medical beds and everything else. They can simply be a check of somebody standing next to you wherever you are, and they kind of check you out and telepathically inspect you and then leave you be. We have seen and heard stories of all of the above. And so I had a great story from a 75-year-old farmer who had land between Ames and Boone. And he'd farmed this land for a long time. And it was noon one day, and he noticed he was harvesting beans, and he noticed that there were bindweed in the harvester. So he stopped the rig, got down, went up to the front, pulled the bindweed out, turned around, and there was a 12-foot tall Zeta body type ET standing 10 feet from it.
Oh,
And
wow.
he froze. This 75-year-old farmer froze. And the ET just stopped and looked at him and then turned and reached out like he was turning a doorknob. Took a step, walked through, and vanished.
Wow.
And I said to this farmer, "What'd you do next?" He said, "I got back into my harvester and went home and had lunch."
Oh,
He
wow.
said, "I just want you to tell me if I'm crazy or not." And I said, "No, you're not crazy at all. Your story makes perfect sense. And here's why." So I explained to him all the stuff going on in the area.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, his line of, "I got back in my rig and went home and had lunch."
I think I would go over there and try to see if I could feel that doorknob or something.
He did go over to the area when he returned from lunch to inspect it and couldn't find anything. It was an area that he already had harvested, and he walked all around the area, didn't find a thing.
Oh, wow.
So by the time he'd gotten back from lunch, they'd gone.
Wow. That is I mean, I have heard stories, a lot of stories. I just wanna let the audience know that the link below is her, YouTube channel, Twitter, and the Telepathic 101 that
Yep.
she is
Telepathy
been
101.
about. Um, so when you give a chance, click on that. You can always come back to the video and, watch it and take the,
You
uh
can also watch and listen to the Telepathy 101 primer done on YouTube in sign language.
oh, wow.
That's a fascinating one too. That was just one of the translations that we did for the deaf community so that they could have somebody in the corner speaking out loud so that if you read lips, you could understand it. But then they also had a sign language interpreter and watching them sign the Telepathy 101 primer. And that's free, by the way. You can go to officialfirstcontact.com and download it in whatever language you want totally for free. Not a single um, penny
Yeah,
for the
I just
Telepathy
posted it
101.
in the comments for
I see
everybody.
that. You did that. Looks
So,
great.
Yeah, so that way everybody can see it and also get the book because the book inviting ET. I mean, hey, I'm hoping mine will come soon because I'm dying to read it and everything. Um, is there anything else that you wanted to tell us about the ETs or about Sasquatch or anything that you
We had our friend Clifford Mahooty tell us a fascinating story from the mid 70s when they had just finished a big um, holiday event that actually celebrates the visiting of extraterrestrials from centuries ago. They call it their Shalako ceremony. So they just finished that. It was December. It was almost 2 o'clock in the morning in mountain time. But if you crossed into Arizona, they didn't have the mountain time. And so their bars were still open and you could still buy beer in Arizona if you went across the border. So he and his brother and brother's girlfriend drove across the border and got a case of beer and were coming back to the Zuni reservation. And they were on the road that coasts downward from the hill west of Zuni into the village. And coasting down the hill, they noticed off across from them, hovering over a field, is a UFO. And
Mhm.
then their car begins to die and it stops working at 2 o'clock in the morning and it's freezing out. And they realize that there's a beam now coming down from the UFO to the ground and something is descending down the beam. And they're going, oh my God, what do we do? What do we do? They climbed out of the car and they ran to a culvert and climbed in and pulled in tumbleweeds after them. But it was so cold. And none of them had, appropriate attire. They'd left the beer in the car. And so they were trying to figure out what to do because they were still like 3 miles from the village. And they decided to get out of the culvert, go out to the street, and flag down whatever car came next. No matter what, they weren't going to let it pass. They were going to get a ride.
Mhm.
Well, they get out of the culvert and very slowly down the same hill that they'd come down, they see two lights, headlights coming down, following the road. But this vehicle is going like 5 miles an hour, maybe that fast. It was super slow. And finally, Clifford says, it doesn't look like it's going to stop. I'll tell you what, I'll get in the front side passenger side and you guys get in the back and we'll still get a ride even if it doesn't stop for us. We won't let him go by. So that's what they did. The car was creeping by about 2 miles an hour. And so they opened the doors and climbed in. And Clifford said the dashboard didn't look like any car he'd ever seen. It was full of tiny little neon sort of lights, red, green, yellow. And the driver was a friend that he had seen in high school 20 some years ago, who had his hands on what looked like maybe a steering mechanism and was looking straight forward, grinning like a Cheshire cat. And Clifford tried to say something to him in Zuni, and the guy just kept smiling and didn't respond at all. Like he didn't even hear him. In the back seat, his brother and his brother's girlfriend had climbed into the back seat, and there was a guy in the back seat also, another friend from high school that nobody'd seen in 20 years. And this guy had two dolls in his hand, a giant Raggedy Ann and a giant Raggedy Andy, and he was holding them like nobody else's business. And Clifford turned and said, why the dolls? And the guy in the back seat also just kept grinning and didn't answer.
Oh.
Car, which was actually a UFO, starts gliding down toward the village, doesn't stop for the stop signs, doesn't stop for the stoplights, just keeps on a trucking and makes a turn. The road curves, but it goes past Clifford's mom and dad's house. And it's still creeping along at 2 to 3 miles an hour. And Clifford turns to his brother and he says, when it gets by mom's house, we're going to bail out. Even if they don't stop. And that's what they did. All three of them bailed out of this moving car that, or UFO, that just kept creeping, and it went past the house and up the hill and vanished. Then over his mom's house, they had a UFO hover for about 40 minutes directly over their house. And
Wow.
the family came out to see it. All of this is all in the same night, in the same half hour. And so it is the only three witness credible CE6 event that I've ever heard. And if you want to hear Clifford tell the story in his own words, on my YouTube channel, you will see Clifford Mahoody's UFO taxi ride.
Mm.
And he will tell you the story in person. It's fascinating and very credible. So, anyway, interesting stories that you hear from friends about their experiences.
Sounds like the experience we had one time at probably 2 3 a.m. in the morning. We was just driving around, and then all of a sudden our locks on our car just went up and down, up and down. And the radio was like a white noise, static in a way,
Okay.
and all the lights on the dash kept kind of blinking.
Oh, wow.
And you just, I don't know, I think you just felt something was over your head, but you don't know for sure. You don't want to look outside or anything. And
Right.
my husband and I was looking at each other like, "What is that?"
What
And
is going on?
we
Yeah.
both kind of knew because of previous experience before and everything. But it was like that for probably a good 3 minutes,
Yep.
and all of a sudden the locks stopped going
Yep.
up and down. Radio came back on, the lights
Yep.
on the dash was okay, and then all of a sudden we saw this bright beam that kinda, like, went over the car onto
Mhm.
kinda, like, not really on the road, but you can see the light from it on the road, and it just took off in midair,
Oh, boy.
and my husband and I was both looking at each other and like, "Well, I didn't know if we was gonna get adopted or what, but was it good for you as it was for me?" So,
We had
uh,
a similar experience in our car leaving Zuni, and we had gone to visit Clifford Mahoody's son, who is a healer, and his uh, we call him Lightning Man because he's been struck by lightning before several times.
mhm,
But Lightning Man was doing some healing work on my spouse, and then when we went to leave, we had just left the Zuni village boundaries, and it uh, and a bird straight in front of us started coming straight at our windshield. And then when it got close, it just suddenly swooped up over the windshield. And behind it, a second bird, a hawk, was chasing it and
oh,
was coming straight at our windshield also 30 seconds later and up and over his wingtips, just barely brushing our windshield. I mean, it was both of us were looking at that going, what just happened? And then the radio, which had been off, turned on and dialed in the local Navajo station, which is the next village over that broadcast. And I turned to my spouse and I said, "Did you touch?" And he said, "I didn't touch a freaking thing." and and I turned to the back seat and I just said to whoever was invisible, um, "Thank you. We're happy to give you a ride. We're going all the way to Albuquerque. If you want to go that far, you're very welcome to stay with us." And that was the last of that. But it was a very unusual event, kind of like yours. Very
yeah.
strange. You don't forget it.
No, you don't forget it. I swear that they're not really after us, but they're kinda looking after us in a way because of other
Babysitters,
experience
yeah,
before. So I kind of feel like I'm protected by
yes,
them in a way, if
yep,
that's, because
nope,
I feel
me
like
too.
that they don't want me yet, but they're just kinda like you said, a wellness check. They're just kinda checking me out to make sure I'm still safe and everything, so
I
which
kind of polled the Wiccan population versus the regular population, and the percentage of Wiccans and witches that have had some kind of UFO ET experience
Hmm.
was huge compared to the regular population.
Wow.
Very different, very much higher. And so that interest in telepathic, paranormal, energy work, all of that, I think they keep track of. And we have babysitters when we leave too. I mean, we just call them babysitters. They're always following wherever we go and then parking themselves in the sky. And we see them get bored and play with the clouds too. If you have babysitters, watch for them to start forming faces in the clouds just for fun.
I
They
have
will.
seen that
Huh?
before lots of times, and I'm just thinking that I was just blessed by the gods of showing me pictures of faces or something. But yeah, well, they say that ETs are like the, old gods, the Anunnaki and everything.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, we always been interested. Um, I think that's why we kind of stay away from everybody else nowadays because it's just so much negativity and poison out there. We just,
Right. And I understand what you went through, and I've kind of veered away from doing public stuff to private stuff
Mhm.
and then followed my own interests as they
Yeah,
presented themselves. I was always interested in big magic,
yeah,
things that seemed to have a multi-dimensional nature about them.
yeah,
And so that's where the overlap with ET and Bigfoot and other people with huge skill sets. Um, uh, I began to research a lot more just to say, how does this work?
yeah,
So,
yeah. Yeah, I know when we go camping, I know you probably, doesn't sound crazy to the audience, but I'm always like praying for, can I see one Bigfoot? Just one. I want to talk to him. I really want
go to Yellow River State Forest
to. Where's
up
that
in
at?
northeast Iowa, up in the corner of the state by McGregor.
Yellers,
Yellow River
Yellow
State
River.
Forest.
Okay. I
Yep.
would have to. I would have to because yeah, I know audience. I'm kind of weird and unique and crazy, but love me or leave me. That's how I look at it.
Yep.
So,
People
but
camping in their remote area. There is a group that researches the Sasquatch up in Yellow River,
oh,
and you can contact some of those folks. Just type in Yellow River State Forest Bigfoot and see what you get, and you can find the people to contact about what the latest is.
cool.
Yeah,
I smell a podcast coming on.
there you go. There you go. Good idea.
So, but Sue, it's been wonderful to see you again.
Oh, it's been great, and thank you for having me on. I
Oh,
appreciate it very much.
anytime. I am planning on the future to have like a UFO panel that
Mhm.
you're welcome to come on.
We
I
have
know I got the director of Tufon MUFON, Karen
yep.
Lee. She said she would come on, and
Oh,
there's a few others that I have in mind because I think this is something that needs to be educated on.
yes,
Very much so because I feel like the time is coming.
it is.
I do. I feel the time is coming,
They told us it is.
and we need to chill out, not be afraid. Just
Right. I think in all honesty, they are here to help us. They've told us that our sun is going through some big changes,
yeah.
and we're about ready to get a solar sneeze of plasma that's huge, that'll
Mhm.
knock out our satellites and probably take down our grid.
Yep. Yeah.
And so I really want to stress to people to be thinking in terms of, if you had to live without electricity for 10 years, could you do it?
Yeah.
And how would you feed yourself?
Yep.
How would things work? Are you safe where you are?
Mm.
Can you grow some of your own food?
Yep.
And so that's what we have done here. Is we have backyard garden that is a quarter acre that we grow a great deal of our own fruits and vegetables
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, but
And
it's about time for people to live off grid, actually, and learn
it
the
is.
ways of the earth.
Yep.
Most, you know, most definitely. So, but I'd love to have you come back on again. Um, Tell your spouse to thank you for sharing your time with us.
I
I
will.
appreciate that. And I just want to say blessings to you and
Thank you.
everything. Stay cool in New Mexico. I know that might be kind of hard. So, but until then, subscribe, like, and share our channel. And also, don't forget to go to Sue's YouTube, Twitter, and the Telepathic 101, please.
Yep. The
I
official
think
one.
we will
Hmm.
learn a lot, and we also learn a lot from her book too. So, Inviting ET came
Hmm.
out in 2018. You can find it on Amazon.
Yep.
It's really reasonable price. Go out and get it, and give us some free feedback, and even some, Sue feedback too. So, but I just want to say thank you, blessings, everybody.
Blessings to
Have
everybody
a
there.
great evening. Bye.
All righty. Thank you. Tick tick. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.